Well, hello and how are you? Hey friends, it's Shenandoah Briscoe coming to you live right here in St. Charles, Missouri. Yes, sir. Home of the first state capital, that is. You know, back there in 1821 to 1826. That's right. Hey, you know, yesterday I told you I was worried about having somebody to come and cover me. Well, I tell you what. You know, if you're looking for a caregiver provider company, why you should look no further than uh, True Love 2. Because I tell you what, I had the boss and his wife out here today doing my care. They come out on a Saturday and they put me together and got me up in my wheelchair. So you can't knock that if you're going to be in a situation and you've got a caregiver company and somebody's not going to show up and the boss shows up for you. You can't beat that. So it's True Love 2. They're stationed out there. Well, they used to be stationed out there in O'Fallon. They're kind of over in somewhere in St. Anne or St. Louis or somewhere. Not sure exactly where, but I tell you what. Contact True Love 2 and you'll get the service that you need. Alrighty. That being said, hey, this here is blog number 221. That's right, 221. We done had 220 yesterday. You know, another milestone, but 221, that's us. Now, yesterday, you know, I did go into that flipping over in the wheelchair coming down Bums Hollow over there in the park. Well, it kind of reminded me of some old other retro stories that I've told in the past, but I'm going to go ahead and bring them up again because, well, hey, you know, it's always fun to bring up the past, especially when you're bound to a wheelchair and goofy things happen. I'm telling you what, goofy things happen. I was on my way. Well, I was down there in Chicago, and I was down there at the at the Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago. That's RIC is what they go by. But anyway, they're on Lakeshore Drive, right there in Chicago, downtown Chicago. Well, not down. Well, I guess it's downtown Chicago, but it's still right there on Lakeshore Drive. Looking out them windows, you got just the most beautiful view of the lake. Well, I tell you, one day I decided I was going to go over to Navy Pier. So what I do is I come down, I do my rehab, and then I get down out of my rehab. And now this is way back when I got my Action Aero Storm wheelchair. This is an old one. It's about 20 years ago now. That's when they had the big drive wheels in the rear, and then they had the little front casters up front. Well, alrighty. They're not little front casters. They're about 8-inch wheel tire, and you got about a 12-inch tire on the back. So anyway, I've got this thing set. I called it my dragster wheelchair because, well, I had my top speed gear, 5th gear, set up like a dragster. You know, I wanted it to go fast and straight, but I didn't want to be if I had like a muscle spasm and jerked real hard real quick on my controller, I didn't want to turn real hard sideways and flip over. So I had the steering turned down a little bit so that whenever I was going fast in it and I wouldn't turn real quick in it. I had my lower gear set to where whenever I was driving forward or whatever, I could maneuver a little bit sharper corners and stuff like that. But anyway, I decided I was going to head on down to Navy Pier. So I'm working my way up Lakeshore Drive there. And so apparently on my right, there was this no building there. Well, this no building used to apparently be a parking garage, I believe. And the only reason I believe it was a parking garage is because it's got 3 or 4 curb cutouts where cars used to pull in and out of it. So I would say that it were a parking garage. Well, it's a big old fence now because they imploded the building, and they still left the curb cuts there. Well, I'm on the sidewalk, and I'm going along, and on my left-hand side is a whole string of buses. Well, I'm cruising along on my wheelchair, and all of a sudden I get to that curb cut, the first curb cut from the where the cars would pull in and out of the garage, and I feel myself slowly working my way downhill until thump, I'm stuck on the back of a bus. Yes, sir, I'm stuck right there in between the wheels on the back in the back of the bus, and it's like, hey, wait a minute, this ain't good, because not only were these buses all strung up in a row there, but they were also running. And I couldn't tell whether there was a bus driver in there watching or looking out his window to see that I was back there stuck on his bus, but ain't nobody ever got out to come and help me. So what I have, my friends, is bicycle angels. Yes, sir, 90% of the time, if I find myself in a jam, somebody on a bicycle is going to show up and help me out. That's right. So God sends you an angel when you're in need. It just so happens he sends mine on bicycles. So anyway, this here feller comes up out of nowhere and pops up over my right-hand shoulder, and he's on his bicycle, and he says, hey, you need some help? And I said, why, sure. I'm kind of stuck on the bus, and I was just trying to figure out how to get off, because I was trying to get back. I was trying to back up off of that bus, but I couldn't do it. So anyway, he come over there and got off his bicycle and leaned it up against the fence and come down there, and he pushed back on that controller and pulled on the chair while I was pulling on that controller, and we wiggled myself and jiggled myself until we got me off of the bus, and then we got me back up on the sidewalk, up on the level part. Okay, so he hopped back on his bicycle, and he says, you gonna be all right? And I said, yeah, I think I ought to be all right. Well, lo and behold, I come down to the next curb cut, and, well, gradually, I'm going downhill. And next thing I know, ka-thunk, I am stuck on a bus. It's another bus, but hey, it's not the same bus, but I'm stuck in the same place, right between the two drive wheels. And that ain't fun. And it's running too. And there ain't nobody coming. Well, my bicycle angel, he thought ahead, and he stopped at the end of the fence down there. So he come walking back up, and he says, need some help again? And I said, why, sure. And so he helped me off in that bus again. And then he said, how about if I just walk alongside you? Boy, did I feel like an idiot having somebody walk alongside me just to get me down the road, down the sidewalk. Well, anyway, we got down past the parking garage, and we got to the end of the thing there, into the fence where he could get back on his bicycle, and the sidewalk was nice and flat at that point, and there were no more cuts on it. So he said, you gonna be all right? And I said, yeah, I'll be all right now. So anyway, he went ahead and just disappeared. And so he must have been an angel, because I didn't see him before that, and I ain't never seen him since. All I know was in my time of need, there he were. So anyway, I went down to flip her up in the fifth gear so I could shoot on down that sidewalk to go on down to Navy Pier, and when I looked down, well, lo and behold, I was already in fifth gear. No wonder I kept a-creeping on down and running into buses. So, anyway, I got down to the corner, and it was a decision. Left, go down and go under and head over to Navy Pier, or right and go up in town. And I decided, well, I'd already had enough fun running into buses and whatnot, so I decided not to go on to Navy Pier. Really missed my chance. I wish I could go back and do it like I did before. You know, hindsight's 20/20 and foresight's darn near blind. I wish I'd have went to a Navy pier after all, but I didn't do it. So anyway, I hooked a right and went on up into town there and went over to the old water tower and messed around over there for a while. And when you're in Chicago, there's a McDonald's right in. Okay, you're walking along the storefronts, and right there in one of the storefronts is a McDonald's. It's not like they are spread out around out here. I mean, where there's a building, a separate building that's a McDonald's. No, right there in along the storefronts, you look over to your left, and there's people dining in a McDonald's right there on the sidewalk. It's like, hey, that's a McDonald's. Surprise, surprise. I wasn't ready for it, but anyway, hey, there it was. Anyway, oh, that was one of those times, though. I do love Chicago. Hold on a second. You gotta get me a nip of the nectar here, alrighty? Yeah, there we go. Little sip of the nectar there. Gotta have that H2O, 'cause, well, it's good for you, don't you know? Yeah, I'll have to put it to my Miss Rita for doing my hair, because she painstakingly, because I am one of those divas on the hair, painstakingly took the time to get it right, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Miss Rita. All right, and Ron, y'all both done a great job. I appreciate it. Oh, and by the way, I got that finally. You make us feel so welcome. Yeah, so warm. Yeah, I got it. It took me a while to catch on to the sarcasm, but I figured it out. So, because I was like, wow, well, thank you. I really tried to. Like I was taking credit for something, because on their way out the door, I said, well, I hope I see you again, but not so soon, if you know what I mean. Because, well, they're the boss. They should be able to send somebody else out instead of having to come themselves. And he says, you make us feel so warm. So it was sarcasm, and I didn't realize it at the time. But after 15 minutes or so, I did. But I didn't have my cell phone, which I still don't have my cell phone, in my ear. So I couldn't call them and let them know. So anyway, that being said, I had a wonderful morning and a wonderful day so far. And anyway, Chicago, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. Matter of fact, you know who Gary Sinise is? Why, he's Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump. Remember Lieutenant Dan? He's the one that lost his legs out there. Well, anyway, him and some other fellers put together a playhouse, and they called it the Fog Hat. Well, when I was in rehab out there, we got to go on a outing, which is supposed to be what kind of rehab is that called? Let's see. You got physical therapy. You got occupational rehab, I think is what it was called. Anyway, we went on an outing, and we went over to this Fog Hat playhouse, and lo and behold, there was Gary Sinise. He was directing a play, or producing, or directing. He was directing. And well, we got to come in on the pre-cut. So we got to ride these little tiny little elevators upstairs, one of us at a time, because, well, you couldn't fit two wheelchairs in there at a time. But anyway, we went up to the balcony, and lo and behold, it was full of fold-up seats. And, well, Gary Sinise, being as cool as he is, he said, hey, here, let me help you. And he just jumped right in, moving chairs out of our way so that we could just get on over there so that we could see the play. And now, I'm telling you what, that is cool. But, yeah, you know Kevin Bacon's 6 degrees from Kevin Bacon? Well, I am 1 degree from Gary Sinise. As a matter of fact, I went on his page one day and threw that over at him, but he's busy, so I didn't really get a response back from it. He's out there for the veterans all the time with the Lieutenant Dan Band. He's multi-talented. Not only can he act, but he can sing and play. But anyway, we went over to that there theater and we got to see that film, and well, it was pretty good. But I'll have to bring that story to you another day because, well, this is my time up, and that's Shenandoah Briscoe saying hello and how are you? God loves you, and so do I. So be blessed in Jesus' name, and come back and see me tomorrow. I'll be here. I hope you are too. Alrighty. Well, alrighty then.